What's going on, y'all? So, the topic that we're going to talk about today has been on the docket for a while now. So, the clips that I'm going to show you are a little older, about a couple weeks at most, but I think the point is still worth noting. The question is, are third party candidates viable? Can a libertarian candidate pull enough conservatives and independents away from Republicans and Democrats to win state or federal office? That's the question that we're going to address. So let's get after it. Over the years, I have engaged with a number of people who do not like our current two-party system. They believe that it's outdated and needs to be overhauled. They believe that Republicans and Democrats are essentially the same. And to a certain extent, I agree with them because very often, and this is something that I've expressed on this channel and on other social media platforms, very often Republicans are Republicans simply because the Republican Party is their best opportunity to win election in their district, state, whatever municipality they may be running for office in. Engaged, discerning voters can usually spot those posers, but there are some who would prefer to see a libertarian candidate run against a Democrat and Republican. And there was a time when I would have loved to have seen that myself. But back then, not even back then, I mean, I do not recall a viable third party candidate, whether libertarian, Green Party, whatever the party is. I do not recall a viable third party candidate ever being a threat to win a primary or a general election in state or federal office. And there is a case in point. This guy. There's a libertarian candidate running for U.S. Senate against Mark Kelly and Blake Masters. I am a conservative with some libertarian leanings, but there are some positions that libertarians hold that I just cannot get behind. One of them is drug legalization. Libertarians basically want to legalize all drugs and let the chips fall where they may. And we see what happens when there's lawlessness in cities like New York and Chicago and Los Angeles. Drugs are illegal, and yet the problem still exists. If you make drugs legal, what are those cities going to look like then? I mean, to me, that's just insane. And the other position that they hold is on abortion that I just can't get behind. Libertarians don't believe that the government has any right to tell a woman that she can't kill her baby. I don't believe that. So unless they make some major changes to their platform, there are very few circumstances under which I would vote for a libertarian candidate. And we'll talk about what those are here in a minute. But for the sake of argument, let's just take abortion off the table. Even when libertarians have the right positions on key issues, they almost always lose conservatives when they say things like this.
Our big problem with voting is that everything is up for a vote today. I don't want anybody telling me how I should use my body, my property, my money, and my time. None of that should be up for a vote. And I don't want to tell any of you how to use your body, property, money, or time. We are a constitutional republic, not an unrestricted democracy. Today, everything is up for a vote. Very little should be up for a vote. Like, for example, who should represent the good people of the state of Arizona. That should be up for a vote. What should the age of consent be? This is something that reasonable minds disagree on. That should be up for a vote. But everything else that we are voting on that has anything to do with your body, your property, your money, your time. That's what freedom is about, folks. None of that should be up for a vote.
The age of consent should be up for a vote? Wow. Now, he had some ridiculous clarification that didn't help. And to their credit, some libertarian groups actually disavowed those comments. But still, it happens all the time. It happens almost every time a libertarian candidate gets any type of recognition. They say some stupid stuff like that. Very little should be up for a vote. I mean, what is he talking about? It's called self-government. We, the people, should be the final arbiters of the laws that govern us. If very little should be up for a vote, then who decides what the rules are? Who decides what laws are governing us? It's ridiculous blunders like that libertarian and other sometimes other third party candidates are just terrible anyway, but they always lose. Libertarians always lose conservatives when they say dumb stuff like that. Now, should a libertarian candidate come out of a primary and be the opponent for a Democrat? Say a pro abortion libertarian versus a pro abortion Democrat? Obviously, I'm going to vote for the libertarian, because the lesser of two evils principle applies in that scenario, and I would hold my nose and vote for the libertarian and pray that abortion is never something that comes up where they would have to vote on that. And I know that the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, but there are states that are trying to legalize it on their own. And basically that's what overturning Roe v. Wade did, was turn it back over to the states. I pray that something like that doesn't happen in Texas. I pray that it doesn't happen anywhere, frankly, but we know that states like Massachusetts and New York and California, they're all going to attempt it. And if I were living in any of those states, obviously, that would be something I would probably have to pray about, because I don't believe in not voting at all. But anyway, I'm in Texas, so I don't have to worry about that right now. But on the abortion issue, we have an example of that. J.D. Vance, who's running for Senate in Ohio against Tim Ryan, and he's not a libertarian, he's a Republican. But I think the point that I'm about to make is still valid. He made a statement during his debate with Ryan where he probably lost some conservatives the way a libertarian would, when he said this.
Look, I've always believed in reasonable exceptions. This is a misrepresentation of my view, but let's hear it from me, not from Congressman Ryan. I absolutely think the 10-year-old girl, the case that we've, of course, heard a lot about, an incredibly tragic situation. I mean, look, I've got a 9-year-old baby girl at home. I cannot imagine what that's like for the girl, for her family. God forbid something like that would happen. I have said repeatedly on the record that I think that girl should be able to get an abortion if she and her family so choose to do so. But let's talk about that case. Because why was a 10-year-old girl raped in our community, raped in our state in the first place? The thing the media and Congressman Ryan, they talk about this all the time. The thing they never mentioned is that poor girl was raped by an illegal alien, somebody that should have never been in this state in the first place. You voted so many times against border wall funding, so many times for amnesty, Tim. If you had done your job, she would have never been raped in the first place. Do your job on border security. Don't lecture me about opinions I don't actually have.
That was a devastating point on the border and border security. but his point on abortion probably lost him the support of some conservatives, which is why a libertarian candidate would have a very difficult time winning a primary against a truly conservative Republican. Now, if I were a resident of Ohio, I'm glad I'm not for a number of reasons, not politically, but if I were a resident of Ohio, nothing against Ohio or Ohioans, it's just, never mind. Anyway, if I were a resident of Ohio, I would still vote for J.D. Vance because the Democrats are just a disaster. And the evidence is this current administration. Everything, they have the reverse Midas touch. Everything they touch has turned to total crap. And it's not just this administration. I think you can go back to pretty much any Democrat administration. They have failed on many fronts. Now, Vance does have the right positions on many issues. Obviously, he has the wrong one on abortion, but we already addressed that. And if enough, and here's the other thing. Here's the thing that we need to keep in mind. He is a conservative Republican, and if enough of his constituents, should he win, and I believe he will, should enough of his constituents put pressure on him, should the issue of abortion come up for a vote, he could probably be persuaded to vote the right way. If he doesn't, 6 years down the road, another Republican, if Ohioans' memories are long enough, and sometimes that's a problem with some of these senators or any of these elected officials, really. But if Ohioans' memories are long enough and he doesn't have the right position on that, there is a chance that another Republican could, or God forbid, he lose to a Democrat, but there's a chance he could lose his seat. And that's the way it should be. Anyway, folks, that's all I got for you right now. It is as crucial now as it has ever been for you to keep your head on a swivel, to keep you, your family, your community, your loved ones safe. Do that, and we'll see you next time right here on the Liberty Cast.